The late afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the high desert plains of northern Arizona. Wind whispered through the tall pines surrounding a weather-worn cabin tucked just off an old Forest Service road, its wooden frame bearing the marks of time and solitude. Inside, the soft whirring hum of an electric wheelchair echoed against the hardwood floors. Noah Brooks sat in the chair's worn cushion, one hand resting on the joystick, the other balancing a battered paperback novel on his lap. He was 39, though the harshness of life had aged him beyond his years. Tall and broad-shouldered, with olive-toned skin and short dark hair peppered with gray, Noah had the stoic face of someone who had known battle and loss. His eyes, a deep hazel, seemed to drift between present and past, always alert, always distant. Faint scars traced the side of his jaw and down to his neck, but it was the silence that defined him more than the visible wounds. He hadn't always lived here, on the outskirts of Prescott National Forest. Once, he'd been Master Sergeant Brooks, U.S. Army, a highly respected K-9 unit commander with tours across Afghanistan. But a roadside IED changed everything. The blast shattered his legs and took away his ability to walk. Less than a year later, his wife Jenna, his high school sweetheart and anchor through his recovery, was killed in a highway accident on her way home from a therapy session she had insisted he attend. That was 2 years ago. Since then, Noah had removed himself from almost everything. Friends stopped calling, and he didn't blame them. Sympathy had become harder to bear than solitude. He left Phoenix behind and purchased a tiny cabin up north, drawn to the stillness and separation it offered. Life now revolved around small, quiet rituals, reading long into the night, tuning into an old shortwave radio to catch faint broadcasts, and making the occasional call to his VA counselor when the guilt became too heavy. The cabin had no internet and spotty cell reception, which was exactly how he liked it. A solar-powered generator kept the essentials running. The only sounds most days were the wind rustling through pine needles, the call of distant coyotes, and the faint creak of the front porch as he wheeled across it to greet the morning. Today had been like any other. A cold brew sat untouched beside him, condensation pooling around the base. The late September air carried the crispness of coming change, but Noah didn't notice. He stared at the same paragraph in his book for the third time, unable to focus. Something was different. The silence didn't comfort him as it usually did. It felt heavy. Unsettled. He turned off the lamp and moved toward the front door, the wheels of his chair clicking softly over the floorboards. Outside, the sun dipped low behind the trees, casting long shadows over the dusty trail that curved away from the cabin and into the woods. Noah paused at the edge of the porch. There was something in the air tonight. Something waiting. He just didn't know what yet. The forest beyond the cabin stood quiet and still, its towering ponderosa pines casting jagged shadows that stretched across the dry, uneven trail. The buzz of cicadas had faded with the setting sun, leaving behind a silence that felt too complete. Noah Brooks sat motionless on the edge of his porch, hands resting on the arms of his wheelchair, listening. Then he heard it. Faint at first, barely a tremor in the air, a soft, broken whimper. He straightened, tilting his head. It came again, clearer this time. A strained, almost choking bark. The sound wasn't near the cabin. It was coming from deeper in the woods, just past the tree line that began where the old trail disappeared into undergrowth. Noah's brows furrowed. Coyotes sometimes cried out in the night, but this wasn't that. This wasn't wild. This was pain. Panic. Pleading. Guided by instinct more than reason, he maneuvered the joystick and eased the wheels down the makeshift ramp off the porch. The chair rocked unevenly over the packed earth, its motors humming quietly as he pushed forward. He hadn't taken this path in weeks, it wasn't made for wheels. Dead pine needles crunched beneath the tires as he passed into the shadows of the trees, ducking low-hanging branches and weaving between boulders and roots. Thorny scrub scraped at his forearms, and he cursed softly as a particularly thick vine tugged at his shirt. The cries grew louder. Noah followed the sound, heart thudding with an emotion he couldn't quite name. After several tense minutes of crawling forward through the brush, he saw it, a patch of movement at the base of a gnarled oak tree just off the path. There, curled into the dirt like a broken shadow, was a German shepherd. The dog looked like it had once been powerful, maybe even majestic, but now its body was gaunt, ribs showing through a grimy black and tan coat. Blood and dirt matted the fur along its neck where a rusted chain had worn the skin raw. The chain was padlocked to a heavy metal stake driven into the earth, barely visible beneath dried leaves and pine straw. Flies swarmed around the open wound, and the dog's sides rose and fell in quick, shallow breaths. Noah felt something twist in his chest. The shepherd's eyes flicked up as he approached. They were glassy, dulled by exhaustion, but behind the pain there was a flicker, just a flicker, of awareness. Of life. "Who the hell did this to you?" Noah muttered, scanning the woods. No houses. No signs of campers. Nothing but trees and silence. Whoever had chained the dog here hadn't planned to come back. He reached out, trying to grasp the chain, but the angle was wrong. His fingers brushed against it, then slipped. Too far. He couldn't reach it from the chair. Damn it. He reversed sharply, branches scraping his arms, and turned back toward the cabin. His breath was ragged with urgency now. There was no time to think, only to act. 10 minutes later, Noah returned with a thick wooden walking stick strapped across his lap and a dull hunting knife gripped tightly in his hand. He positioned the wheelchair as close as the terrain would allow, then braced both arms on the stick. With a grunt, he lowered himself halfway from the chair, stretching until the blade met the chain's corroded links. The dog didn't move. Didn't growl. Just watched, silent and still. Noah sawed through the metal, inch by inch. It fought him with every stroke, years of rust and neglect fusing it together. Sweat beaded on his brow. His arms trembled with effort. Finally, with a sharp metallic snap, the last link gave way. The shepherd didn't bolt. It simply collapsed to the side, a soft whimper escaping its throat. Noah leaned forward and rested a hand gently on its head. "You're not dying out here," he said quietly. "Not today." And neither of them knew it yet, but this moment, this single, desperate act of compassion, would change both of their lives forever. The ride back to the cabin was slow and quiet. The dog, still unnamed, lay bundled in a thick wool blanket in the bed of Noah's old Ford pickup. The road home was just a dirt track carved through the woods, and every jolt over a rut made Noah glance nervously into the rearview mirror. The German shepherd barely moved, except for an occasional flicker of its ears or the rise and fall of its breath. By the time they pulled up beside the ramp, the sun had disappeared behind the trees, leaving the sky painted in deep streaks of red and purple. The temperature dropped fast in the forest after sundown. Noah parked close to the ramp and killed the engine, sitting still for a moment before speaking. "We'll figure this out," he said under his breath, eyes on the mirror. "You and me." Inside, the cabin was dim and still. Noah had cleared a space near the fireplace, laying down towels over a thick, folded comforter. He wheeled himself around to the truck bed, then lifted the dog carefully, blanket and all, into his lap. It was heavier than he expected, probably close to 70 pounds, but the weight didn't matter. He carried it like something sacred, guiding his chair slowly up the ramp and through the front door. He laid the shepherd down beside the hearth and stoked the fire to life, adding another log until the room glowed with warmth. The dog stirred slightly but didn't lift its head. Its breathing remained shallow, its body coiled tightly as if bracing for something worse. Noah didn't try to touch him again. Not yet. He rolled back to the kitchen and filled a bowl with fresh water, then returned and set it just within reach of the dog's nose. The dog turned its head away. He tried a bit of shredded chicken from the fridge, nothing. It refused everything. The flinches were subtle but clear, a twitch of the shoulders when the heater kicked on, a low growl deep in its chest when Noah accidentally dropped a spoon on the hardwood. "Okay," Noah murmured, backing away. "You need space. I get it." He slept in the recliner that night, wrapped in a fleece throw, the fire casting soft flickers across the ceiling. He kept one eye open, one ear tuned to the shepherd's breathing. It was a fitful night, interrupted by low whines and soft, muffled growls. Once, around 3 a.m., Noah opened his eyes to see the dog staring at him, wide awake, unmoving, gaze locked onto him from across the room. Noah didn't say anything. He just slowly reached down, picked up the book he hadn't been able to focus on for weeks, and read quietly by the light of the fire. It seemed to calm the dog. Or maybe it calmed him. The next morning, the dog still hadn't eaten. Noah brewed coffee and made a warm broth with shredded chicken, carrots, and rice, something easy on the stomach. He placed the bowl a few feet away and sat back in his chair, not looking directly at the dog. He sipped his coffee and began to speak, slowly and quietly, as if talking to a skittish child. Name's Noah. Used to be a soldier. Lost more than I care to count. The dog didn't move, but one ear twitched. I get it. I do. When everything feels broken, you stop trusting people. Can't say I blame you. He talked like that all morning. Not about anything important, just observations, little stories from his time in the army, jokes he hadn't said aloud in years. By afternoon, the dog sniffed at the bowl and lapped up a few tentative spoonfuls of broth. Noah didn't react. Just kept talking, letting the silence stretch between sentences like a bridge, not a wall. That night, the dog inched a few feet closer to the hearth. On the third morning, Noah found it curled near the edge of the rug, closer than before. Its tail thumped once when it heard the wheels of the chair shift. Progress. That day, as Noah poured food into a new bowl, he said aloud, "Can't keep calling you, hey. Gotta name you, buddy." He watched the dog stretch and sit up, slowly, stiffly. Its eyes were clearer now. Not bright, but no longer clouded with pain. "You move like a shadow," Noah said. "Always watching, always quiet. That sound like you?" The shepherd blinked once. "All right then," Noah smiled faintly. "Shadow it is." From then on, he spoke to him like an old friend. "Morning, Shadow," he'd say when he wheeled into the living room. "Let's make some coffee," or "Weather's turning rough tonight." The dog didn't answer, of course. But he listened. Always listened. And by the end of that first week, Shadow followed the sound of Noah's wheels from room to room. Always close. Always silent. They didn't need words. They had each other. A week passed, then two. The days slipped into a rhythm Noah hadn't known he was missing. Each morning began with the same quiet ritual, the hiss of coffee brewing, the soft shuffle of tires across hardwood, and the gentle jingling of a tiny silver bell. He had attached it to the left side of his wheelchair on a whim, an old sleigh bell he'd found in a dusty kitchen drawer. When he fastened it on, Shadow had perked up, ears alert, tail thumping once. "Now you'll always know where I am," Noah had said. And from that day forward, the bell became a guide, a soft compass ringing through the cabin. Wherever Noah went, Shadow followed, his steps silent, eyes always scanning, always present. Not like a pet, but like a second shadow, watching, guarding, learning. The trauma hadn't vanished. There were still moments when loud noises made Shadow freeze or when sudden movements caused him to flinch. But the space between those moments grew longer, the recovery quicker. He slept near Noah's recliner now, and when Noah woke in the middle of the night drenched in sweat, haunted by dreams he no longer spoke aloud, Shadow was already there, steady, breathing, warm. One morning, as Noah rolled into the kitchen, he dropped a glove on the floor. It landed with a soft thump. Before he could reach for it, Shadow moved. The shepherd padded over, picked it up in his mouth with surprising gentleness, and brought it to Noah, dropping it onto his lap like it was the most natural thing in the world. Noah stared for a moment. "Where'd you learn that, huh?" Shadow just sat back, calm and proud. That one moment unlocked something forgotten in Noah's mind, an old muscle memory, a buried instinct. He'd trained dogs like Shadow before. Back when his legs still worked. Back when he believed his life had a shape. He began introducing small tasks during the day. Nothing formal, just quiet commands, soft whistles, open palms. He didn't need structure or obedience. What he wanted was communication. Connection. Shadow responded like he was remembering more than learning. When Noah dropped the TV remote, Shadow retrieved it. When the phone rang in the other room, he brought it over in his jaws without even being told. And when Noah whispered, "Check the door," Shadow trotted over to the entryway, stood on his hind legs, and peered out the small window. If someone was there, a squirrel, a rabbit, a passing hiker, he let out a single, low bark. Then he returned and sat beside Noah's chair, waiting. Noah adapted the cabin too. He installed a button panel near the door, rigged up with a chime and a simple latch. After a few sessions, and more than a few pieces of bacon, Shadow learned to press it with his nose to open the door on command. "You're smarter than most people I know," Noah told him once, scratching behind his ears. "You just don't waste time proving it." Outside, the forest bloomed into early autumn, leaves crisping into shades of orange and gold. But inside the cabin, something else was changing. Where once there had been silence, now there were small sounds: paws padding across wood, the clink of a metal bowl, the rhythmic sweep of a tail brushing against furniture. And laughter. Noah had started laughing again, quiet, hesitant at first, then full and real. One night, while they sat out on the porch watching the moon rise through the trees, Noah leaned back in his chair and let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "You know," he said, glancing at the dog curled beside him, "I thought I was done. Thought the best parts of me burned up in that sand a world away." He reached down and touched the bell on his wheel. "But maybe there's still something left." Shadow thumped his tail once, then rested his head on Noah's foot. And that was answer enough. The days kept building, like careful bricks forming a quiet, unspoken bond. By mid-October, the weather had turned cooler. Noah added an extra blanket to the recliner and kept the fire going through the nights. The cabin had begun to feel less like a place he was hiding in, and more like a place he belonged. Shadow had settled fully into the routine. He ate regularly now, greeted Noah each morning with a tail wag and a slow stretch, and had taken up a sleeping spot at the base of the recliner. When Noah moved, Shadow moved. When Noah spoke, even idly, Shadow listened. But no amount of routine could prepare them for what happened that night. It started like any other. The fire in the hearth crackled softly. Noah had eaten dinner, a simple bowl of chili, and Shadow had polished off his own meal with his usual care. The two sat together in the warmth of the firelight, the cabin glowing orange and gold around them. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, rustling dry leaves across the porch. By 10:30, Noah reclined back in his chair and dozed off, Shadow curled at his feet. At some point after midnight, pain woke him. Not the dull ache he sometimes felt after long days, not the ghost pains he'd learned to manage. This was different. Sharp. Blinding. It tore through his spine like a blade, radiating up through his shoulders and down into his gut. His whole body tensed. His lungs locked. The world spun. Noah gasped, trying to cry out, but his voice failed him. His hands fumbled for the emergency injection kit on the bedside table a few feet away. It might as well have been miles. He couldn't reach. His vision blurred as waves of fire surged through his lower back. Panic surged next, fast, suffocating. His heart pounded wildly. He was trapped, helpless, shaking violently in the dim light of the dying fire. Then, pause. A rush of motion. Shadow. He stormed into the room, nails scratching against the hardwood as he reached the recliner. His bark shattered the stillness, sharp, urgent, not stopping. He leapt onto the footrest, planting himself against Noah's chest. He licked his face, pawed frantically at his arm. Noah barely registered it, barely managed to lift a trembling hand, but Shadow didn't stop. He whined, barked again, nose toward the nightstand where the injector lay. Then back to Noah. Back and forth, back and forth. Noah's hand moved an inch, then another. With a final, desperate stretch, he grasped the injector, fingers trembling, and jabbed it into his thigh. It took seconds. Agonizing, endless seconds. And then, release. Not total relief, but a break in the pain, a breath through the panic. His muscles unclenched. The room stopped spinning. The world, though still distant, started coming back. He lay still, gasping, eyes closed. Shadow settled beside him, pressing his warm body against Noah's side, head resting on his chest like a weight grounding him to earth. Noah didn't speak for a long time. Just kept his hand on Shadow's fur, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. Eventually, he whispered, "Good boy." And that was all he needed to say. Because in that moment, Shadow wasn't just a dog. He was a soldier again. A partner. A silent guardian standing between life and death. From that night on, something shifted between them. It wasn't just companionship anymore. It was trust. It was survival. They weren't just helping each other live. They were keeping each other alive. The last week of October arrived with dry winds and brittle skies. The pine needles on the forest floor rustled like paper, and the air was thick with the kind of tension only seasoned wilderness dwellers could feel, a warning wrapped in stillness. Prescott had always been prone to fire, and this fall had been particularly dry. That night, the wind moaned across the ridgeline, rattling the porch chimes with a sound that seemed almost deliberate. Inside the cabin, the fire in the hearth had burned down to glowing embers. Noah sat in his recliner, a blanket over his legs, Shadow asleep by the door, his body curled tightly like a coiled spring at rest. The TV hummed softly in the background, though Noah wasn't paying attention. He dozed off with a book open on his chest and a half-full coffee mug cooling on the side table. Outside, the wind tugged harder. Then, without a sound that Noah could hear, a small spark flared to life behind the bookcase in the living room. Faulty wiring. Dry wood. A single arc. Within seconds, a small tongue of flame crept upward, unnoticed. Smoke built slowly, curling like a ghost between the floorboards and up along the walls. The first scent of burning didn't reach Noah. But Shadow, he smelled it. He was on his feet in an instant. At first, he lifted his head and sniffed once, then again. His ears shot up. He padded forward, nose low, body tense. Another sniff, a pause, then he bolted into the living room. That's when he saw it, a thin, creeping flame licking its way along the back of the bookshelf. The wall behind it had already begun to blacken. Shadow let out a piercing bark. In the recliner, Noah stirred but didn't wake. Another bark, louder, insistent. Then Shadow sprinted across the cabin, leapt onto the recliner, and began pawing frantically at Noah's chest, barking into his face. Noah jolted awake. The hell? Then he smelled it. Smoke. Thick, acrid. And getting stronger. Noah's eyes darted to the hallway, he could see it now. A thin haze drifting toward the ceiling. The fire was growing fast. Shadow, fire. His heart hammered. He tried to push forward, but the air was already thickening, his lungs protesting with every breath. Go. Door, Shadow, go to the door. Shadow obeyed instantly. He charged into the living room, leapt onto a side table, and yanked the curtain off the window where flames had begun to spread. With a sharp tug of his jaws, he pulled the burning cloth down and flung it to the floor. Flames hissed and snapped in retaliation. Without hesitation, Shadow raced to the front exit and slammed his weight against the crash bar Noah had installed just months earlier. The door flung open with a sharp clang, and the night air rushed in, cool, fresh, saving. Noah spun the wheels of his chair as hard as he could, coughing, eyes stinging. The heat followed him like a living thing, clawing at his back. Shadow circled him outside, barking, herding him away from the structure like a seasoned protector. Only when they were safely on the gravel drive, bathed in cold moonlight, did Noah stop. He turned, breath ragged, and looked at his cabin, his refuge, now flickering orange at the corner, flames dancing behind the windows. But they were alive. Shadow stood beside him, chest heaving, fur singed, eyes sharp. You did it, Noah rasped. You saved me, again. And somewhere in the woods behind them, the wind carried the fire's rage into the night, but it couldn't reach them now. Not this time. By the time the fire engines arrived, red and white lights flashing across the trees, the eastern sky had begun to pale. The back corner of the cabin was blackened, still smoldering, but the flames had been contained. A few more minutes, the fire chief said, and the blaze would have reached the roofline, and from there, taken everything. Noah sat wrapped in a blanket in the bed of his pickup, the chill of dawn clinging to his skin. His hands were smudged with ash. His throat burned from smoke. Shadow lay beside him on the tailgate, sides rising and falling rapidly, tongue lolling from exhaustion. His coat was singed near the neck, one paw scraped raw, but otherwise he was okay. Noah reached down and stroked his back, fingers trembling as they moved through the rough patches of fur. "You stayed with me," he whispered. "You pulled me out." He didn't expect an answer, but Shadow turned his head slightly, resting his muzzle against Noah's thigh. That single movement carried the weight of everything they didn't need to say. The fire crew worked efficiently, calling in assessments, dragging burnt furniture onto the lawn, checking the structural beams. One of the younger firefighters, a guy who looked barely 20, glanced over at Noah and Shadow, then walked up slowly. "That your dog?" he asked. Noah nodded. "He's the reason I'm sitting here." The firefighter let out a low whistle. "Damn. Smart animal." Noah smiled faintly, but behind it was something deeper. A recognition that this wasn't just a lucky break. It was a pattern. Shadow hadn't been rescued, he had been meant to be here. Meant to save. After the fire was out and the last hose was reeled in, Noah wheeled himself back to the edge of the porch. The cabin wasn't destroyed, but it bore scars now, blackened corners, charred siding, smoke-stained windows. It matched him more than ever. Inside, it would take weeks to clean. He'd need to replace the drywall, get the wiring redone, maybe even reinforce the roof. But he was alive. And so was Shadow. Later that day, as they sat together under the porch awning, Noah opened his laptop for the first time in weeks. The internet still worked, though barely. He logged into his old blog, Pause and Purpose, and began to type. He told the story of the fire. Of the night his service-trained instincts failed him, and the dog he had rescued returned the favor in full. He posted a photo, Shadow sitting beside the porch, a streak of soot down his back, his eyes still fierce. Then he wrote one line that stayed with him the rest of the day. "I thought I saved a life when I cut that chain in the woods. Turns out, he was saving mine all along." The post went live that afternoon. Within hours, the story began to spread, shared by veterans, animal rescue advocates, dog lovers, even strangers across the country. But for Noah, it wasn't about going viral. It was about finally understanding what that moment in the woods had really been. It wasn't the start of a rescue. It was the beginning of redemption, for them both. Over the next few days, messages poured in. Emails from strangers, veterans, rescue organizations, even a local news station that wanted to do a short feature. Most Noah ignored. He wasn't interested in being a symbol. He hadn't told the story for attention. But one message, marked with the subject line, "We read about Shadow," stopped him cold. It was from a national nonprofit based in Colorado Springs, Guardians Forward, an elite organization that trained and placed service dogs with injured and disabled veterans across the country. Their tone was respectful, not pushy, but clear. They had read Noah's story, seen the footage from the fire that a neighbor had captured on their phone, and were stunned by Shadow's instincts. The message was simple. With his intelligence, calm under pressure, and responsiveness, Shadow could be a life-changing partner, not just for one person, but for many. We would love to invite him into our advanced training program, where he could help serve other veterans in need. They promised the best care, top veterinary support, expansive open fields, highly trained handlers, and access to facilities most dogs could only dream of. Shadow wouldn't be a pet. He would be a hero. Again and again. Noah read the message twice. Then a third time. He set the laptop aside and stared out the window. Shadow lay on the porch as always, head on his paws, half asleep in the afternoon sun. There was still a faint mark on his left flank where the fire had singed his fur. He looked peaceful. Content. Unaware of the choice that hovered in the air between them. That night, Noah didn't sleep. He sat in his recliner, eyes on the dark ceiling beams, trying to weigh the thing he didn't want to think about. Shadow had changed his life. Saved it. In every sense. But maybe it wasn't enough for one man to benefit from a dog like that. Maybe the right thing, the honorable thing, was to let him go. Let him serve again. Let him bring hope where it was needed most. Noah replied to the email the next morning. The message was short. "I'd like to talk." They scheduled a call. The program director was kind, understanding, and more patient than Noah expected. He explained the transition process, how Shadow would live at their Colorado facility, be slowly introduced to more advanced service tasks, then matched with a veteran in need. Someone struggling. Someone like Noah had been. They offered to send a transport van through Prescott within a week. Noah agreed. But when he hung up the phone, the cabin felt too quiet. The night before the van was due to arrive, Noah sat on the porch with Shadow, just like they had so many evenings before. The stars above were sharp and bright, the way only desert skies could be. Shadow rested at his side, breathing slow and steady. Noah reached down, fingers scratching behind the dog's ears. "You're going to help someone else now," he murmured. "Just like you helped me." Shadow didn't stir. Noah looked away, toward the darkened tree line. "You're going to be a hero, buddy." Again. He didn't sleep that night. He didn't think he could. The van rolled up the gravel driveway just after sunrise. It was sleek and white, the logo of Guardians forward emblazoned across the side in deep navy letters. A tall man in uniform stepped out, clipboard in hand, offering a calm, professional smile as he approached the porch. Noah sat waiting in his wheelchair, back straight, arms crossed tightly over his chest. Shadow rested beside him, ears up, watching the stranger with alert eyes but without fear. The handler crouched down, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a small treat. "Hey there, big guy," he said gently, holding it out. "Come on. You're going to love it where we're going." Shadow didn't move. Noah cleared his throat and gave a soft command. "It's okay, Shadow. Go on." Shadow looked at the van, then at the handler, then slowly, back at Noah. And then he turned around. Deliberate. Slow. Walked over to the side of the wheelchair and sat, pressing his body against Noah's leg, resting his head firmly on his knee. The handler blinked. "Well, I guess that answers that." Noah laughed softly, though his eyes were already misting over. "He's made his choice." There was a long pause. The handler nodded, stood, and extended a hand. "He's one of the best I've ever seen," he said. "And he's exactly where he's meant to be." The van turned around and disappeared down the road, leaving behind dust and silence. Noah looked down at Shadow, his hand gently stroking the dog's back. "You're home," he whispered. "And maybe that's enough." In the weeks that followed, the cabin filled again, not with furniture or repairs, but with purpose. Noah had been changed. Not just by the fire, not just by Shadow's loyalty, but by the stories that poured in after he posted about the rescue. Messages from veterans who felt invisible. Families who had lost loved ones and found hope in Shadow's story. And one line from a former Marine who had written, "I haven't left my apartment in 5 months. But tomorrow, I'm going to the shelter. Maybe there's a Shadow waiting for me too." That was the moment Noah knew. He couldn't send Shadow away to serve others. But maybe, he could bring others here. With the help of a few neighbors, some local veterans, and volunteers inspired by his blog, Noah began clearing the back acreage behind his cabin. Together, they built shaded kennels beneath the tall pines, added a small community center with fold-out chairs and coffee thermoses, and carved out gentle trails through the woods. They called it Haven Ridge Sanctuary. The mission was simple: provide a soft place to land for abandoned service dogs, aging companions of deployed soldiers, or animals left behind by sick or struggling veterans. No red tape. No bureaucracy. Just love, shelter, and second chances. Shadow, now graying around the muzzle, walked those trails daily with new arrivals. He greeted every dog with a careful sniff and a low wag of the tail, a silent welcome. He sat in on volunteer orientation sessions, lay beside Noah during group meetings, and never strayed far from the porch. He had become more than a symbol. He was the heart of it all. One warm morning, Noah wheeled himself out onto the porch, a steaming mug of coffee in one hand, and a weathered leather notebook in the other. His memoir, still in progress, lay open in his lap. He watched as a new rescue, a floppy-eared pup barely 3 months old, came barreling across the yard toward Shadow. The old shepherd didn't move at first, but then his tail gave a soft, single thump. Noah smiled. "Looks like it's your turn to teach now, old man." The sun crept higher, casting gold across the pine needles and rooftops of Haven Ridge. And in that moment, as the young pup nestled beside the seasoned veteran, Noah understood what had been true all along. Some battles don't end with medals or marches. Some end right here, in peace, in purpose, in the quiet weight of a loyal head resting on your foot. This story reminds us that healing often comes in unexpected forms. Sometimes, the rescue we offer becomes the rescue we need. Noah saved Shadow from a chain in the woods, but it was Shadow who broke the invisible chains Noah carried inside. Through patience, trust, and love, they gave each other what the world had taken: purpose. In life, we all carry scars, some seen, some hidden. But when we choose compassion over fear, when we open our hearts to second chances, we make space for miracles. Whether it's a wounded veteran or an abandoned dog, every soul deserves to be seen, heard, and held. Let this story inspire you to believe in recovery, in hope, and in the power of connection. If this touched your heart, there are more stories like this waiting to be told, stories of love, loyalty, and transformation between people and animals. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe to Paw Prints and Stories and be part of a growing community that believes in second chances. Like, comment, and share, because sometimes, the right paw finds us when we need it most.